Okay, it's time to begin. We are at the top of the hour, and I want to make the most of our time today. So, welcome everyone to the ACT Training webinar series. This is the 12th episode, I suppose, of this series, and we've hit the year mark. That's a good milestone. Now, today's topic is going to be ACT fundamentals. We're just going to talk about the basics. We've got a lot of survey feedback from all of you, and a lot of people are saying, can we just do some basic things? We're real new at ACT. We want to just learn some of the fundamentals. And some of you have been using ACT for a while, but maybe you've never seen some of these really basic items before. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to be kind of all over the board. The agenda here, I'm going to show you kind of a workspace tour looking at navigation and other areas of ACT, plus some of the new features that were introduced in ACT version 25. Then I'm going to talk about creating users and teams and how teams are even effective, how you can use them. We're going to import a spreadsheet. Some of you have done that a lot. Some of you have never done that before. I'm going to show you how you can do that and make the most out of it. Then we're going to create a simple history record, show you why history records are so important in ACT over time. I'm going to show you a few different lookups or searches that you can do in ACT to find unique data that might help you do additional things for your companies. We're going to go into the groups area. I'm going to show you how to create a static group versus a dynamic group. Both of them are good. You can find lots of good use cases for them. So I'll just show you the two different group membership types. And then at the very end, we're going to go into ACT marketing automation, and I'm going to show you the simplest of email campaigns, sending somebody a birthday, an automated birthday email. At the end, I'll have a chance to answer some of your questions. And speaking of that, in Zoom, we would really prefer it if you use the Q&A panel in there. I've got Ed and Dan online here. They're going to answer some questions for you. They're going to be answering those as they come up. And the most common question is this: is this webinar being recorded? The answer is yes, it is being recorded. We will email that recording to you at the email address that you used when you registered. And if that fails, you can always go to our act.com website, where there is a web page that shows every single webinar that we've ever done. You can follow along with me. We're going to record this, though, like I said. So if you fall behind, don't worry. And then at the end, after this webinar is over, we're going to send you a survey so that you can tell us what you think about it. And if you have any ideas for future webinars, we take those very seriously, and we will act on that as well. My name is Brent Milner. I've been with ACT for over 17 years. If you've watched any kind of training videos, you probably heard my voice. I train our internal employees, I train partners, and I do these webinars every month as well. In my spare time, I wander around the woods in northern Arizona. And I got to update this slide. A couple of our dogs died this past year, so I'm down to 2 dogs. But my wife has been sort of hinting that we need to start fostering, so that number will be fluctuating. So let's begin by talking about the ACT workspace. How do you move around in ACT, and what are some of the new features? I'm going to jump into my ACT virtual machine here, just so that we can look around here inside ACT. So this is the desktop version of ACT. There are some slight changes between the desktop version and ACT Premium Cloud. I'm going to focus mainly on the desktop version, but when there are some significant differences, I'll point them out, or I'll try to remember to point them out to you. For example, on the left side is our left navigation. So these buttons down below on the left, this helps you just navigate to all the different areas within ACT. Now, this is where these buttons appear on the desktop version, but in the cloud version, these buttons are up at the top. So just a slight difference between those two versions, but those buttons are always on the left. Whenever you click one of these, such as contacts, it'll take you to the contacts area. And up at the top left, you'll see that is reflected where you are. When you switch to groups, it tells you now you're in groups. So you can always tell where you are just by looking at the top left area of your screen. Up at the top, we have menus, like you would expect in any kind of software solution. There's a menu bar at the top. This is also going to change based on the context of where you are. So since I'm in groups now, you'll see that there's a groups menu up here. If I switch back to contacts, that group menu changes to a contacts menu. So it always knows where you are, and it gives you the menu that you need. Also at the top, we have these action buttons. These also reflect what you're looking at. So if I was looking at one of my contacts, let's say I'm looking at Shorty, I can see his contact information. But if I click one of these buttons at the top, like maybe I wanted to schedule a call with Shorty, when I click this call button, it's going to populate the fields based upon the information that I'm looking at. So in this example, it knows I want to schedule this call activity with Shorty. So it pre-populates that with him. And it also associates this call activity with Shorty's company record. So wherever you are in ACT, when you use these buttons, it's going to populate as many of these fields as possible for you to save you some time. Now let's talk about some of the new features inside ACT that we've seen with version 25. The first one I want to talk about is this SMS feature. So you should see a new SMS menu at the top. This is a great way to send a text message to one or more contacts based upon what you're looking at. Now you don't have to go, previously you would have to go to ACT Marketing Automation, create a campaign, add an SMS text step, then activate that campaign and send it out. That's a lot of work to just send a text message. So we have added this new feature here at the top. To get started, go to the Get Started area inside that menu, and this will show you how you can sign up for a free 14-day trial for this SMS feature. Yes, this is going to be an additional subscription add-on because it's not free to send text messages. So you have 14 days to try this out to see how it works for you. And then after that, you can sign up for a low price subscription plan. One of the other things you can do with this feature is you can create templates. This allows you to create SMS messages that you can then reuse, and you can add merge fields into the message area. So for example, let's say happy birthday, comma, and then we're just going to add that contact's first name. The way to do that is to go to the salutation field, just in case they have a nickname. We'll choose, oops, I chose the wrong one, salutation, and then click Insert Field, and it inserts that field right there into your message. So depending on which contact you send this message to, it will populate that placeholder with the name from their salutation field on the detail view. So yeah, that new feature is available now. Give it a try. Sign up for the 14-day free trial. You don't have to put in your credit card or anything. Just give it a try and see if it's something that you would use. Another new feature that we have in version 25 has to do with the ACT Insight area. Some of you have been using ACT Insight, but I'll give you a quick overview of that just in case you haven't. ACT Insight is an interactive dashboard where you can build charts to show kind of any different area of your business, how it's doing. The default chart or the default view that shows up is called the Key Insights view. And it's really meant to just give you a really high level view into the health of your business. So for example, one of the charts that's available here is called Business Health. And it's just going to show you over a timeline the opportunities that you've had available and the ones you've closed. So you can see how you're doing versus how you could be doing, your potential versus your actual. All of these charts are filterable using the filter options in the top right corner. You can filter by date, by chart type, and by different kinds of criteria based on the chart. If you ever want to know more about any of these pre-built charts, you can just hover over the question mark and it'll give you a description of what data that chart is showing you. On the right, we have a little cog window which can open up your options for your ACT Insight area. And here is where you can switch to different views. So by default, I believe we've given you 4 different views: Key Insights, Sales Metrics, Campaign Metrics, and Customer Interactions. But you can build your own view, which is what I've done. And the view that I built has to do with my opportunities within 60 days of now. So let's look at that. I've built this view myself. It's real easy to do. I have videos that you can watch to show you how to do that. But these 2 charts that I've built, I've used the new advanced chart builder. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. But what I wanted to depict on this view are my opportunities that are scheduled to close within the next 60 days and the opportunities that have closed and that we've won in the past 60 days. And I just wanted to count for each of my sales reps on how many opportunities they have either in their pipeline or in their victory column, as it were. And the way to build this chart is when you go to the add a chart area, you can switch to an advanced chart builder, and it looks like this. If you've ever used the advanced query inside ACT, this is kind of similar to that. What you're doing is you're building rules, you're creating rules, and then ACT will abide by those rules to create the chart for you. So here's my example. I named it opportunities by sales reps closing within the next 60 days. And so what I'm searching for are opportunity records, and I want to count them by record manager. So this top area is just basically the foundation. What are we counting by, or what are we looking up? And I wanted to list all my record managers and then give a count of number of opportunities. And then down below is where I build the actual criteria. What kinds of opportunities am I looking for? Well, since I want to look at opportunities that are closing within the next 60 days, I want to make sure that I'm looking at opportunities that have a status that's equal to open. So I want all open opportunities. But I'm going to modify that rule. So I'm adding an and combination here, which means they have to be open, and they also have to have an estimated close date within the next 60 days. So those two rules, when combined together, gives me exactly what I want. All my opportunities by sales rep closing within the next 60 days. And so this is going to be a living, breathing chart, and the numbers will change over time. As a new opportunity enters that 2-month window into the future, it'll change the bars for each of my sales reps. As we close opportunities, those opportunities will disappear off of this chart. And also with most of the ACT Insight charts, you can click on any of the bars in that chart to get a list of the different records that make up that individual bar. So for Molly, I can see what were the 3 opportunities that are closing within the next 60 days. And you can toggle back and forth by using this little graph at the top to go back to your full chart view. Then over on the right, I have my second chart, which shows me the future. I want to see the opportunities by sales rep that are closing or that have closed, within the past 60 days. So on the left, I have my open opportunities. On my right, I have my closed opportunities. And if I view this chart, I can see the rules that make that up as well. So on this one, I want status to be 1, not lost, but 1. And I want the date, close date, to be within the last 60 days. And those two rules make up this chart. It took me about 3 minutes to build that chart, and now I have data that I can use forever going forward. So a really great way. This is just one small example of how you can look into the health of your sales team and their production and their performance. And this is all inside ACT Insight. It's included in version 25. Start using it now. See, the next thing I want to show you here is how to create users and how to create teams, and even why would you use teams? A lot of people don't even know we have a team. We have teams functionality inside ACT, and you might even be asking, well, what's it for? And so I'm going to hope to show you that now so that you can get the most out of ACT by using teams. So let me go to my contacts area again here. And whether you're in ACT Premium Cloud or ACT Premium Desktop, you're going to create users by going to your Manage Users area. When you launch that window, it's a little bit different in cloud versus desktop, but you're going to be creating a new user. And when you click Create New User, basically you're adding a new employee at your company who will have access to ACT. That's what a user is. And so you have an option whether you're going to create this user from a current contact in your database, or if this is a new person, they're not in your database yet, then you're going to choose Create New User. The next screen will show you their information. So what is this user's name? I always use Wilma Deering because I'm an old Buck Rogers fan. So this user is going to be Wilma Deering. I need to give her a username. This can be as complex or simple as you want it. Since I'm just using a test environment where nobody else is accessing this, I keep it very simple. I use their first name, but you can put email address in here or whatever you want. I believe if you're on ACT Premium Cloud, you have to put in email address. That's required. Then the next thing is going to be choosing a security role for this user. There are 6 security roles ranging from browse user, which just means they only have read access to everything. They can't make any edits or anything to the database. All the way up to administrator, which has every single permission that's available inside ACT. Be careful how many administrators you set up. I would recommend just one administrator for each database. Otherwise, it's kind of like a too many cooks in the kitchen scenario. And then the system manager user really doesn't even access records. This is just somebody who's going to be responsible for doing database backups and other kinds of system tasks like that. Once you have your security role, give that user a password. You can create some password rules if you want down below, and then click next. Then decide whether this person is going to be active or not. Usually when you're creating a user, you want them to be active immediately. But if someone is using or going on vacation or something like that for an extended vacation, you can change this to inactive. The next screen shows you your a la carte permissions. So I chose the standard security role, which just shows me these 4 permissions. But let's say that this user needs to have a remote database. Well, I can add 1 permission to their account, as it were, to give them that permission. So each of these additional permissions is spelled out what they mean inside the help area of ACT. So just go into ACT and do a search for permissions, and it'll show you what each of these means. And then next, this is where you can add your user to a team. Now we're going to talk about teams in just a second, but this is where you would do it. You'd click add. You can see I have some teams created already. If I wanted to add this user to my USA Northwest team, I would just add them there and then click finish, and this user will be created. So let's talk about teams really quickly. In my tools area, I'm going to go to manage teams, and we want to know, first of all, how do you create a team? And then why would we even bother creating teams to begin with? Well, I have several different teams that I've created ahead of time. And you can see that most of my teams are based upon a region inside the United States. So I have 5 different regions, but I also have a team for finance. So you can set up a team based on a user's role. It's really up to you how you want to set up your teams. When you create a team, you just click the create team option on the left, give your team a name. We'll call it HR maybe. And then you just add one of your or more of your users in your system to that team. When you click finish, that team will be created. So it's really easy to create team and assign users to teams, but why would we even bother with teams? Well, teams are used primarily for security, for records in ACT, and also specific fields. Let me talk about fields first. So in the define fields area of ACT, this is where you would create custom fields or edit any fields that are out there. What you can do in the fields area is you can add a security option to it. So let's say that for whatever reason, I wanted to secure maybe the email field. I don't want all my email fields to be visible to everybody who logs into ACT. What I'm going to do is click field security after I select the email field, and we'll see that currently the email field for all records has full access, and that just means everybody can edit and view this field. But let's say that I didn't want everybody to be able to edit and view this field. Let's say that by default, I wanted it to be read-only for everyone. And then for certain teams, I want them to be able to edit this field. So let's just say maybe I only want my managers to edit a field, or maybe my finance people to edit this field. What I'm doing is I'm overriding this default permission of read-only by changing it on my Teams tab down below. So I'll click Edit with Finance selected. And now with Finance here selected again, I'm going to change their access level to full access. When I click Apply and OK, what this does then is makes it so that only the people in the Finance team can now edit the email addresses, which is this email field here, for all contacts in ACT. So that's how you can change a security setting on a field level. Okay, I'm going to reset that because I really don't want to do that. I don't want to mess up my my database in the future. Okay, so I'm going to click Finish here, and let me show you a different kind of way to use Teams for security. So first, we looked at field level security, which was changing a specific field based on team membership. Now I want to show you how you can change entire records to be owned or accessible based upon teams. So let's say that this one record, Shorty, has a lot of sensitive data for whatever reason, and I don't want everybody in my company to be able to access this person's record. What I can do is go to the Contact Access tab, and in the access level, I can change this to either public, private, which means only the record manager can view it, or limited access. If I choose limited access, here is again where Teams comes into play. If I switch to Teams, I can say, okay, I only want the USA Northwest team to be able to have access to this person's record. And for everybody else, they won't have access to it. So that's two different ways where you can use Teams to enable security within ACT. And there's a third way, really. You can set it so that any new records that are created can be set to be protected by specific teams. And this is done inside the tools area. If I go to preferences, and it's on the startup tab, we'll see there's a button called record creation options. And here's where I can say, make any new records for any contacts. I can make them to be either public, or any new contacts get limited to specific teams. So that way, any contacts that are created after today would now have this team limitation for editing on them. You can do that with companies, groups, and opportunities as well. So 3 ways that Teams comes into play to protect the security of either individual fields or entire records. Next up, I want to talk about importing a spreadsheet of contacts. So everybody's got spreadsheets. We've used those for years and years and years. You may have spreadsheets that contain all kinds of different data, and you want to import that into ACT so you don't have to mess around with these spreadsheets anymore. Let me show you how to do that. First, what I want you to do is to prepare your spreadsheet. It's really important that your spreadsheet has the data on there that you want before you import it into ACT. And that's because it's a lot easier to just edit your spreadsheet first before you import it. After you import it, then you're going to have to go through individual records and make all kinds of changes there. So I have, I believe, a spreadsheet that I created for this a couple of days ago. Yeah, here's my import spreadsheet. And so in Excel, I've just created 3 records that I want to import: Larry, Celeste, and Joe. And at the top, I have the column headers. These are pretty typical column headers. Now, depending on the kind of data you want to import, you may have more headers than this. And that's okay, because one of the things you can do when you import is you can create a new field in ACT so that that data gets mapped to the correct fields in ACT. But this is pretty standard. One of the things I suggest doing is format your phone numbers the way you want them to appear. If you have lots of different phone number formats, it's really kind of easier to do it here in the spreadsheet before you import it. You can also do it after you import it, but for me, it's a lot easier to just to do it right here in the spreadsheet first. Look at your data, make sure that all of your data has the appropriate values that you need to have in there. And once you've done that, you're ready to go. Now notice I do have a header row. This is going to be important to remember once we get into the import step. You don't have to have a header row, but if you do, make sure you make a note of that, because we're going to have to, when we import, we need to basically skip this row so that ACT doesn't create a contact whose name is name and whose company is company. We need to skip that row, and I'll show you where that is. Okay, so once you've got all that formatted correctly, save it, close it, and then we're going to go back into ACT here. And from the file menu, we're going to go to import. In ACT Premium Cloud, I believe it's in the tools menu. There's an import option in the tools menu. Either way, you're going to import a spreadsheet. This opens up a wizard. We're going to go to the second step. And here's where we have different options to import either an ACT database or a text file. But I'm going to use Excel because that's the format that I saved this one in. Now we just need to find that spreadsheet. So locate that on your computer and click open, and then click next. And then you have to specify what kinds of records are you importing. Are you importing company records or group records or contact records? Most of the time, you're going to import contact records. Then choose either typical or custom. Now, typical is if you're very familiar with your spreadsheet and you know that the fields that you're importing will map to the fields in ACT. If you have any questions about your spreadsheet, whether there's weird fields or you think that the header might not match with the field name in ACT, choose custom. It really doesn't prolong this to you very much by choosing custom. I always also recommend that you set up your duplicate checking, because what if you have contacts on the spreadsheet that already exist in ACT? You want to make sure you set up duplicate checking so that if there are any dupes, ACT will notice that before it imports it. And so you just have to set up rules here on what makes a duplicate record. Well, for me, if their name matches and their email address matches, then that's a duplicate to me. And so I want to make sure that we bypass that. So let's click next, and then it'll say, okay, that first record. So that first row on my spreadsheet, was that a header row? If it was, then we want to make sure we don't check this, because we don't want to import that first row. If that first row does not have a header in it, then check this, because that's a real person and you want to make sure they get imported. So I'm going to click next, and now ACT is looking at my spreadsheet and it's comparing it to the fields that already exist in ACT. And so you can kind of scroll through here. Let me make this column a little wider. So on the left, these are the headers that existed in my spreadsheet. You notice I spelled email differently than ACT spells email. Also down below, I put URL where ACT says website. But ACT was pretty smart, and it looked at the data and said, that looks like a website field, so I'm going to just suggest that this is where you want to map it. If at any time that's incorrect, all you have to do is click on this right column, and from the dropdown, you can choose the field you want to map it to. Or if that field doesn't yet exist in your database, you can choose Create New ACT Field, and that field will be created upon import. So it's a pretty cool feature where you can do that immediately. Then I'm going to click Next, and it's going to say, all right, here's your contact records. If you have any contacts that already exist, you can set up merge options, whether you want to overwrite it or not. And now we're ready to import. It's looked at it. It says the fields are compatible. So I'm going to click Import, and it's going to import those contacts. Now, I only had 3 contacts imported, so this is going to be really quick. But if you have hundreds and hundreds, it'll take a little bit of time, because it's importing each of those and saving it for you. You can always view the import log after you're done. Here it tells me it successfully imported 3 contacts. If there were any errors, they would appear here as well, so that you can go back and figure out what happened. But there we go. Now we're all finished. And one of the cool things you can do if you want to verify that all those contacts made it in correctly is you can do a really quick lookup. I like doing this lookup. So from the lookup menu, I'm going to look up other fields. And so for contacts, the field that I want to look up is called create date. I want the create date to be equal to today. And when I do that, it's going to show me every contact that was created today. So since all I did today was import 3 records, here they are. They show up, and then I can verify that data. It's a great way to verify that your import went correctly. All right, let's see. Next up, let's talk about a history record, creating history records. History is a valuable type of information in ACT. Because history records pretty much every single interaction you've ever had with every contact, with every user in your ACT database. So for example, let me scroll up and find one of my contacts that I interact with a lot. His name is Ryan. And I can see that I created this record way back in 2017. If I click the history tab for Ryan, it's going to show me every kind of historical interaction I've had with this contact record, whether I've changed a field or whether I've done other things like had a meeting with this contact, sent an email to this contact, received a phone call from this contact. Any of those kinds of things will show up as history records. Now, of course, there's a lot of field changed records here, and maybe that can get a little bit overwhelming. So what we can do is we can filter the types of history records that we're looking at in this current view. I'm showing every single type of history, but maybe I'm only interested in my activity histories. So I'm going to click None to uncheck all those boxes, and then I'm just going to check activity histories. I only want to see my activities with this contact. When I click outside that drop-down box, the view refreshes. And now it's showing me just my calls, my meetings, my to-dos, and any other kind of activity types that I have with this contact. So history is important because it helps you just stay up to speed on every interaction you've had with this contact. So if I had a phone call with Ryan, 2 years ago, I would see that here. And any details that I added to that phone call would be listed in the history record. When you're clearing your activities, you're creating a history record. But you can also create a history record from scratch. You don't have to have an activity associated with it. For example, let's say that I was out at lunch today and I just happened to meet up with Ryan. He was at the same place and he said, "Hey, why don't you join me for lunch? I'd like to talk to you anyway." Okay, great, I will. And so we have a lunch meeting, impromptu. Maybe it lasts an hour and a half, but I don't have any record of that in ACT. So when I get back to the office or when I get on my phone, I can launch the ACT Companion mobile app and I can just create a history record for Ryan. The way to do that in either ACT Premium Cloud or in the desktop version of ACT is to look up Ryan's record, and then you can just click the history button at the top. This will launch our new history window where I can just basically put in the results of this history. So in this example, we'll just say it was a meeting that I had with Ryan, and I can put the date and time. Let's say that it was maybe yesterday. I just forgot to put it in yesterday. I'll change that to Tuesday, and I'll put the time of the meeting was at noon. How long did this meeting last? I don't know, we'll say an hour and a half. And then what was this meeting about? I could use any of these options from the regarding drop down. Maybe I'll just find lunch meeting. And then down below, I could type in the details. Here are the details. Whatever we talked about. They have a new event coming up. We have a product that he's interested in. He wants to know more. Maybe he wants us to come over and do a demonstration of that. I would put all of that in this details area for this history record. And one of the cool things is I can immediately create a follow-up activity from this history record. So maybe that is true. Maybe during my lunch with Ryan, he requested that we come over next week and give a demonstration or a presentation of some new product. Okay. And even said, let's do it Thursday at 1:00. That's his availability. So, all right, from this history record, before I close it and save it, I'm just going to click follow up. And I'm creating a new meeting for Ryan, and it's going to be next Thursday. And he said 1:00, so I can schedule this meeting right now. And we'll just say it's going to be an hour long. And then in the regarding field, we'll just put in demonstration of product. Whatever that product was that he wanted me to demonstrate, I'll put that in there. I can add details on the details tabs, just like I would for any activity. Once I'm finished with that, I could even schedule it for one of my other employees, but I'm going to take this one on myself. So I'll click OK. Now that meeting gets scheduled with him. And now at this point, I can finish creating that history record from the lunch that we had earlier. So history is great because you can immediately create these impromptu history records based on things that are happening, incoming calls, meetings that you've had with people either at trade shows or when they just stop by. It's great to record all that so that you never forget it. And also, if you're collaborating with other salespeople or other employees at your company, they will also be able to be up to date with everything that's going on with your contacts just by looking at the history tab for each of those individual contacts. Speaking of looking up things, let's talk about lookups. Now, I know a lot of you use lookups. You use the really basic lookups, but I'm going to show you maybe some lookups you've never even tried using before. You can look up contacts based upon their activities that you've had with them, or even lack of activities. You can look up contacts based on who has access to the record or who is their record manager. And then, of course, advanced queries are always available where you get to make the rules for how those queries are built. So I'm going to start by just showing you some really basic lookups. This lookup menu at the top gives you kind of some of the most common ones, looking up a contact or a company name, or maybe city. I want to see all contacts in a specific city. Maybe all email addresses that have the word Gmail in it. Those are all kinds of different lookups that you can do. You can also look up other fields. Like I showed you earlier, I looked up a bunch of contacts based upon when their records were created. You can look up contacts based upon when their records were last edited. So it's a great way to look up a lot of different contacts based on different criteria. Down below, I have an option to look up contacts based on contact activity. So let's build this one out really quick. Maybe I want to see if a contact has changed or hasn't changed. Maybe I want to look up that up. Which contacts have changed within a specific date range? So here I have since maybe March 1st, and I want to look up who has new opportunities, who has new notes or edited notes. I can look up based on histories. Which contacts have I had maybe a meeting scheduled or an email sent or whatever it is. There's lots of different options in here for different types of contact activity that you can use as criteria for lookups. So I'm going to say, just look up notes, any notes that have changed for any of my contacts since March. This may be a lot. I don't know how often I use notes, but I'm going to do okay. All right, so there's 3 contacts. I have 3 contacts whose notes I've edited since March. And the way to look this up, of course, is to double click any of the contacts on that list, look at their notes tab, and you can see the note that I put in there. This was done in March 20th. If I click the little navigation buttons, I can go from contact to contact in that current lookup, and I can view the notes that I put there. And this is great if you're looking for a specific contact. You know you put a note down for a contact last month, but you can't remember which contact it was. This is one way to find that, doing a contact activity lookup. Another type of lookup is a contact by access. So I'm going to go to my lookup menu again. And this time I'm going to go to my advanced area and I'm going to choose contact by access. Now this lets me look up contacts based upon the type of access that people have to those contacts. But what I want to do is I want to look up contacts with specific record managers. Maybe I need to just do kind of an overview of all of Jody's records. Maybe she's one of my sales reps. Maybe she's going on vacation and I just need to maybe reassign these to other people. She's going out for a few months. Well, what I want to do then is look up all contacts who have Jody as a record manager. When I click OK, I get a list view. So here's all of Jody's contacts. Apparently she's my regional sales rep in Tucson. So now I can go through here and reassign these contacts to other people. And you can even do this in a sort of a blanket way. What I could do then is I could choose select all, tag all. And from here, I could go to my edit menu and choose replace field. And what I'm going to do now is replace the contents of record manager from Jody to maybe Derek. This will reassign all of Jody's contacts to Derek until I switch it back. So that's a great way to just quickly change that record manager for multiple contacts at one time. And I found that by just doing a different kind of lookup in ACT, the lookup contact by access. The last kind of lookup I want to show you is my favorite, really. It's the advanced query. And this is where you can get very, very detailed with the types of searches that you do. The way an advanced query works is you build the rules for your lookup, and then ACT will do the work by populating that query for you. Lots of different rules that you can use. So let's go by the example of contact creation. So I want to see all contacts that have a create date. And we'll say within the last days, and I'm just going to put a number there. Let's say 3 months. All contacts that have been created within the last 3 months. I'll put in a value of 90 for 90 days. And then I'll add this to my list. So right now I've built my first rule. I want to see all new contacts within 3 months. I can click preview down below and it'll show me there are 18 contacts and I can scroll through this list if I want. Okay. But maybe I also want to see those contacts who belong to Jody. So what I can do from here is create a second rule for record manager. And I want that to be equal to Jody. So let's type in her name, Jody Harris, and I'll click add to list. And so now, because there's an and operator here, it's combining both of those rules together. So it has to be a new contact within 3 months, and it has to belong to Jody Harris. Now, when I click preview, we can see that there's only 2 contacts that fall into that criteria. So this is a great way to build an advanced lookup or an advanced query for the types of contacts that you want to look up. And another cool thing you can do with this is save this query so that you don't have to build it every time. You can save it for future use. What I can do is open any previous queries that I've saved. I have a lot of them. I have queries that are based on, I want to look up when my record managers have no opportunities. I want to know that. So I can look up these queries to show, all right, these record managers don't currently have any opportunities in their pipeline. I can also look up based on ownership. So I was in this one, it's Florida and Minnesota. I wanted to see all contacts who are company owners, but they live in Florida and Minnesota. When you, oops, I didn't mean to save it. I just wanted to look it up. But when you look that up, ACT will show you, well, that's why I clicked save. Let me click open. Scottsdale or Florida and Minnesota owners. Why is it doing save? Oh, I want to replace it. Yeah, that's right. I just messed that up. But it would show me that lookup that I've created ahead of time in this view for me. So 3 different kinds of lookups that are really useful for you: contact activity lookups, lookups by access, and then, of course, the advanced queries where you can design your own custom queries. Let's see, we've got a couple more things that I want to look at here. I want to go into groups and show you how you can look up or create groups and then manage membership based on 2 different styles, as it were. So I'm going to go into my group area, and we're going to talk about group membership. So creating a group is really easy. You just click new, you give the group a name, and that's it. You save it. But a group is really worthless if you don't have any contacts added to it. And so I want to show you the 2 different ways to add contacts to a group. Now, one way is static. And so I have a static group for my training group. So maybe there's a group of people that I constantly have to train and retrain. I've added them to a group in ACT. If I go to the, excuse me, if I go to the contacts tab, there is an add remove contacts button. And here is where we can determine how contacts should belong to this group, whether it's going to be static or it's going to be dynamic. Now, here's the difference between the 2. A static group means that you manually add or remove your group members. The way to do this is to click the contacts button in the top right corner, and we'll see that currently this group has 3 static members in there. But let's say I needed to add Jeff Anderson to this group as well. I'll select him, I'll click the right arrow, it moves Jeff into this group. Now, Jeff will remain a member of this group forever until I remove him. If I click OK, we'll see now Jeff gets added to this group, and this group is, as it says, it's static. These are static contacts who stay in this group forever until they get removed. That's great because you have total control over the contacts in a group. The second way to add contacts into a group is called dynamic membership. This is where you create some rules and then you let ACT manage that group membership. So I have a group here called Florida and Texas owners. And you can see there's tons of contacts in there, lots of contacts in this group. Let me look at the rules that I set up. So down in the dynamic area, you'll see the rules that I created ahead of time. These rules state that the contacts must belong in the state of Florida or Texas. And then from that group, that's what these little parentheses do. They group those 2 rules together. From that group of rules, we're going to also modify that to say, not only do they have to be in Florida and Texas, but also, they also have to have a title that equals owner. If all that is satisfied, ACT will add those people to this group. So the great thing about this is I don't have to manage group membership. I write the rules and then I let ACT do all the work for me over time. And this is, like I said, it's dynamic. So let's say that Eva here is no longer the business owner, or she moves. Let's go look at her record. If I go to her group record, we can see Eva is in Florida. She's an owner. But let's say for the sake of argument, she's not an owner anymore. Let's just make her kind of like a CEO or something else. Anything other than owner. Once I save this record, now ACT is saying, okay, Eva does not qualify because she's not an owner. She's still in Florida, but she's not a business owner. So therefore, she doesn't qualify to be in this group anymore. And now her name has disappeared from the list. So ACT has managed that group membership for me. Now, this is great because you can create all kinds of rules, and then based upon those rules, you can market to these groups. And I should mention, you can have a combination of both static and dynamic group memberships. It's not one or the other. So I could also add a static member. Maybe I always want Eva to be in this group, and I don't care what her title is. She's always going to be in this group. So I'm going to add her statically, and she'll always be in there. So that's one way to override that if you want it to work that way. But you can create rules for anything. Let's say that I have a sign-up sheet for my monthly newsletter. That could be a rule that's set up. Did they sign up for this newsletter? If so, add them to this group. I have a group for survey results. I put a survey out on my website, and based upon how people answered on that survey, I wanted ACT to add them to this group. So if they answered yes, they're interested in a specific product, they would automatically get added to this group. So there's lots of different ways that you can manage your groups. And then from your groups, now you can market to these groups based upon what you know. So if you're not using groups in ACT, consider start using those, because when you couple that with ACT marketing automation, your email campaigns, you're going to be able to be sending emails out to the exact targeted people that you want to send emails to. And speaking of emails, I'm going to show you how to build the most basic of email campaigns inside ACT Marketing Automation. And that is the ever popular birthday email campaign. But we're going to do it in a smart way where we know your birthday is coming up and we even know your name. So we're going to personalize it, as we see in this example, who we're sending this birthday to, so that maybe we can just score some points with some of our contacts and customers. So let me go back into ACT here. And I'm going to start by just examining a field that is already included in ACT. It's called the birthday field. So let me look up one of my contacts who has a legitimate email address that I can send a birthday to. His name is Charlie. Oh, I didn't look up, looked up in the wrong field. Let's do it this way. Look up my contact, and it starts with Charlie. Okay, so here he is, Charlie Jones. I have a real Gmail address assigned to him, so we're going to send this email to Charlie. And I noticed that his salutation is Chuck. If we go to the personal info tab, you'll see that there is a birthday field. Now, this is an annual field. So what that means is it doesn't really care about the year. It's really mostly interested in the day and the month. So if you're in the UK, this is kind of reversed. It's for us, month, day. For you, it'd be reversed. But what we really want to know is that this birthday field matches what we're about to do. We're going to create a group. And in ACT, I'm going to create a group that's for my birthdays. So I'm going to go to my groups area. I'm going to click new, and I'm going to call this group Birthday Today, because I want this group to only consist of people whose birthday is today. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into my add remove contacts, and I'm going to create a rule. So the rule for this is going to be for my contacts who have a birth date, which is equal to today. I'm going to add that to the list. Okay. I'm going to preview this to see if anybody's birthday is today. There he is. Charlie is, because I put 7/26 on there. So we know that Charlie is our birthday boy. I'm going to click OK and OK again. Now tomorrow, Charlie will no longer be in this group because it won't be his birthday anymore. But for today, it's his special day. So now I'm going to go into ACT Marketing Automation, and I'm going to show you how you can build a very simple campaign that has an email in it. And I know that this can be pretty overwhelming if you've never used this before, and that's why I'm trying to make this one as simple as possible. So in Act Marketing Automation, the first thing we're going to do is we want to create the email template. It doesn't do us any good to create the campaign if we don't have an email to add to it. So we're going to start with an email template. I'm going to go to my templates area, and I'm going to create a new template. And when this template screen comes up, I have a few choices. I've got some templates down here. I could start from scratch with a blank template, but you'll notice there are hundreds and hundreds of templates that we can choose from, so that the work may already be done. And I know I have a birthday template in here, so I'm going to use that one. Let me go up to the B area because these are alphabetized. There it is. Birthday greetings. I'm going to choose birthday greetings and click continue. So that means I'm using this birthday greetings template. Let's give it a name. We'll call it birthday email. And we'll call it birthday today email so that it just kind of matches with my group name for my organizational mind. Down below, I could add a smart tag if I want, but we're going to skip that for now because that's not necessary. I'm going to click save. And now it opens up this birthday today email. And we're going to look at the template. Now, this is a pre-designed email template that has lots of things in it. It's got the colors are all built out. We've added some rows here. There's some imagery. All of this can be edited. If you want to change this image at the top to show your company logo, you can do that. All you have to do is click the image itself and then go to change image. When you go to change image, this takes you into your image library where you can upload any of your images in here and then bring them into your template. I have created a folder called logos in my template library. And what I can do here is then import my logo from my library. It's spinning for me right now, so maybe I didn't upload it yet. At the top, you can always choose to upload a file from your computer, or you can import a file from, say, your Dropbox account or your Facebook page or whatever that import is for. And you can even search for free photos. And there's 500,000 license-free photos that you can use. But here's mine. I got my transparent one or my white one. I don't know which one looks better. Let's just do the white one. And I'll click insert. And now it adds my logo at the top. So that's how quickly you can sort of start to edit some of these fields here. Let's say I wanted to edit this text. You can just click in it and then edit it like you would do any kind of text field. You can do things like boldface. You can change colors. You can add links. You can do whatever you want. But notice here it says hello first name. This is really a placeholder. And what we want to do is we want to merge this to a field in ACT. And so it doesn't do it by using these brackets. So we're going to delete this. And instead of that, with my cursor still in that spot, I'm going to click merge tags. And now it's going to show me all the fields I have in ACT. See, there's my birthday field, but I'm going to scroll down. And instead of, a lot of you might use the first name field, and that's perfectly fine. But I know that Charlie wants to be called Chuck and not Charlie. So I'm going to scroll down to my salutation field here. Click that. And now you can see, here's the format for merging a field. So it'll say, hello, Charlie. If I want, I could add exclamation after that, whatever I want to do. But also, one of the cool things that is available in some of these templates are these dynamic images. So you'll notice that it says happy birthday, and then it's kind of scrolling through different names. We can make this say Chuck if we want. All we have to do is edit this part of the code with this field, the contact salutation field. Make sure you include the braces there, because that's what tells ACT to look that up in the database, look up that data in the database. So I've selected that, and I've hit Control-C on my keyboard to copy it. Now I'm going to click this dynamic photo. And every time you click something in the email template, you'll notice that this content area changes on the right to kind of reflect what you're looking at. If I switch to a photo, it's going to change these properties to reflect this photo that's selected. And you can always tell something's selected because it's kind of outlined with a blue box. So on the right, with this photo selected, we can see that it's a dynamic image, and we see the URL. And for dynamic images, what you do is you go to the end of that URL, and where it has the bracket, it should say name, but it says gnome. I don't know why. I'm going to get rid of that whole thing, the bracket and the gnome, so that it just says text equal to. And then from here, I'm going to paste in my contact salutation field merge. And that's it. So now when this email goes out, it's going to look up that contact's salutation, and it's going to paste that in there with a font that matches happy birthday. And so I'm going to send this out, and hopefully we can look at it today. And that's really it. The only other thing I need to do is give this email a subject line, but we're going to do that in the campaign area. So I'm going to save this. And now my email is built. Again, it looks like I'm giving them a 50% off coupon. If you have a way to create a URL that gives somebody a discount, click on this button and then change this URL to where it's going to link to. If you don't have the option to do that and you want to get rid of this button, you can just click the little trash can icon and it removes that button for you. You can also remove entire rows by selecting outside the content area and hitting that trash can too. So whatever you want to do, that's up to you. I'm going to click save. And now I'm going to return back to my email template area. And so it'll show me my new birthday today email. It's got my name, the last edit date, and eventually this will show me a little thumbnail image of it. It hasn't quite loaded yet because it's so new, but in a few minutes that'll update to sort of a preview image of that. So now we have our email template built. The last thing we need to do is build the campaign. So I'm going to go to my campaigns area, and I'm going to create a new campaign, and I'm going to make it a blank campaign because this is going to be such a simple campaign. I don't need a template for it. I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to click continue. It's a blank campaign. I'm going to name it birthday today. And I'll just put email in there too. I'm going to click continue. And so this is where this groups area comes into play. And that's why we created the group first, because now from the campaign area, I can assign this campaign to my ACT group. And I've named it birthday today. So it tells me find everybody in the birthday today group and send that email to them. And this, we'll set it up to check every day so that at a specific time every day, it looks in the group and then it sends the email out to those people. Who's this from? This will be pre-populated from your AMA account, and so will the rest of these fields. So you probably don't need to change any of these. I'm going to click create. And now we're going to go into the campaign itself, and it's going to show me the workflow. So here's what the campaign looks like. It's a workflow. You can orient this from left to right or top to bottom by using this button in the top right corner. Whatever way makes most sense to you. I like left to right myself, so that's the orientation I'm going to use. Now, each of these geometrical things is a stage. So we have a start stage, we have an email stage, and we have an end stage. And that's all we need for this campaign, because all we're doing is sending out a birthday email. It's a very simple setup. Also, you'll notice that this says instant here. What that means is this will instantly send out this email whenever people are in this group. So, and I'll show you how to set up the time that this email goes out, or at least the time when ACT checks. You could change this to send it out on a specific day and time, but that's not going to make sense for a birthday email because we want it to go out every day. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have it stay to instantly send this email out. Now I'm going to click the email stage. And what I want to do is I want to edit the email content. So I'm going to click go. And again, this is why we built our email template first, because we want to now add that email into this campaign. So here's like a real generic email template. We could build it from here, but we've built it ahead of time. So in the actions menu, I want to import my templates. These are the templates that I built in my email templates area. All I need to do is find the one that I built today called birthday today email. Choose that, click import, and then ACT will say, oh, okay. this is the email you built. I'm going to put it in this campaign for you. And there it is. So we've got my logo at the top. We've got the dynamic image. I just want to verify that it retained the field on the right. Yep, the contact salutation field, that's there. So that's good. We're set to go. There's only one thing we need to do. We need to give this email a subject line. You have to edit the subject line. ACT will not let you send out an email with a subject line that says intro email. And it's really better for you to create a good subject line. Otherwise, your emails could get forwarded into a spam area, or people might just delete it. So what I'm going to say is happy birthday. Oops. Happy birthday, comma. And I want to put, I can't type today. I want to put the first name or the salutation name for each contact in the subject line itself. And we can do that because over on the right, we have a select merge field. So I'm going to choose, again, the salutation field because Charlie has a nickname. And so I want to make sure I use his nickname. As soon as I select that, there it is. It puts in happy birthday and it puts in this contact salutation. I'll add an exclamation mark after that. I could even put from Brent or from whatever company I'm from, but I'm just going to leave it simple. And then here's your date format. If I had any date fields, we talked about this in previous videos, how you can change that date format. But I don't need that now because I have not put any dates in this email. And that's really it. This is the name of the stage. It starts with intro email. I'm just going to call it birthday email, and I'll show you where that gets displayed. So I'm going to click update. Now my properties have been updated. I've got a birthday email that's and the subject line is happy birthday, first name. I'll click save. And now I'm ready to send this out. So I'm going to go to my actions menu. And before I send it out, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to make sure that this campaign gets updated every day so that the new birthday people get added to it. So what I'm going to do next is from my actions menu, I'm going to go back to return to go back to my campaign workflow. And while you're looking at the campaign workflow, now go to your actions menu. And what you want here is campaign list sync. And what this is going to do is synchronize your campaign to the group in ACT. Currently it's set to off. By default, it's off. But what I want to do is turn it on. And I'm going to tell ACT every day at, I don't know, 6 a.m. before people go to work, I want to update this list with the new birthday people and send them out an email. So I'm going to change it to 6 a.m. I'm going to set it to my time, which is Arizona time. We get our own time zone. And end date, I could set an end date to the end of the year, then send out a new birthday next year. Because otherwise they might get wise to me. Hey, he's sending the same email out every year. So let's set an end date of maybe the end of the year, 12/31/2023. Okay, that way I have to remember then set up a new birthday campaign for 2024. Once I've done all that, I'm going to go to my actions menu and click save. And now this campaign list sync is turned on. And that's great. Now I know every day at 6 a.m. it's going to check for new birthdays and send out that email. So now I've got to go to my actions menu. And the last thing to do here is activate it. We'll click activate here. And it's doing some checks. It's looking at my campaign name. It's sending it as soon as I activate, sending out the email. Synchronize is enabled every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. Here's who it's coming from. Here's my display name. And it's the group in ACT. It's called Birthday Today. Down below, ACT has done a check to make sure I've changed my subject line, which I have. And so since everything is good, I can click this activate button. And now instantly ACT will work on sending this email out. Now it sends it out in specific batches. I don't know how often it's going to send this out. It's pretty quick though. If I go to this email address, if I got to find this person's email address. Let's see here. I'm going to go to Gmail. see if we get that email from him. Oops. mail.google.com. And I'm going to sign in as Charlie. I gotta remember what his email address is. Let me look that up real quick. I've got it saved to a specific sheet. Here he is, Charlie. His email is Charlie Chuck Jones. Go to next. I'll log in to his email address. And now this will take me into not now. This will take me into Charlie's email, and hopefully we have a birthday email already here for Charlie. Let's see. Once we log into Google. Not yet. We haven't received it yet, but it should be coming shortly. I can look up there. I can look up one of my other emails that I sent out yesterday. I think I sent one to, I can't remember who I sent it to yesterday. Oh yeah, I do. I remember now. Let's log in as Bob Barker. Sign out as Charlie, and I'll log in as Bob. And we'll see the email that he got yesterday. So I did a test for this before this webinar, and here's the email, the same exact email, but I sent it to Bob, Robert. I think I used the first name. I didn't use the salutation one on that, but here's what the email will look like. It's put his name in there. It's put his name in there, and that email was sent. And even in the subject line, I've got his name there too. So that's a really quick way where you can create an email campaign. You've created a template, edited it. You've made sure that ACT checks that list every day to send out a birthday email to all your birthdays every day. And now you're scoring some points with your contacts. And so that comes to the end of my list today. I want to thank you all for joining us. Here's the URL that I mentioned earlier. If you'd like to view previous webinars, go to act.com/explore. And this is where you can sign up for future webinars, tell other people to sign up for these webinars, but you can scroll down there and see all the previous webinars that we've done for the past year on different kinds of topics. Also, if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, just send us an email at team@act.com, and we read all those. And actually, this webinar is from an exact survey result. So we take those very seriously, and we take your suggestions and we use them. We're going to spend a few more minutes here just in Q&A. And so if you have any further questions, stay online and just type those in the Q&A panel in Zoom. If not, I just want to thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next month.